This is a response to Jonathan, the DJ tutor, from the website. His YouTube thing is Ellaskins, Ellaskins, for the people who are looking for the original. I'll try and put a link in the thing below, because most of the normal people that watch my videos aren't going to get this at all. Bear with me, it's on a topic that I thought was interesting. Jonathan asked, how has DJing changed? How has equipment changed over the last however long it is? And for me, I'll be honest, however long it is, well, I thought I got my first set of decks in 98. And just to prove that I'm talking about the right sort of stuff, CDJ 800, CDJ 800, DJM 800, and a Technics turntable full of Transformers and robots and tosh, because I like Transformers, robots and tosh. The question that you ask is an interesting one, because the question that you ask is really the technology has followed the demand. And what's changed is, back in the day when, as you said, the Technics 1200 SL Mark II came out and it was the industry standard. Yes, it was the industry standard because it was very, very good. But that doesn't necessarily mean industry standard. There are lots of things that are very good. The reason the Technics was the one is because at that time it hit such a need, as you demonstrated with the pitch control and all that sort of stuff, that before you're long, everybody had them. There was no other record player to have. If you had Geminis or Cams or something like that, it didn't matter how good you got on them, you had to have a pair of Technics, because in order to really be awesome in a club situation, when you arrived to a nightclub 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you had a pair of Technics there, because they were robust and because they didn't go wrong. And to be honest with you, the only thing people tended to bring of their own was a decent set of needles, because what came on the club system was invariably a load of old crap. And that's what's forced things. Industry standard means that everybody knew what they were getting when they get there. So, as you have said many a time, the quality of what you did was good enough. The performance that you put on was good enough. The people that were there listening to you on the dance floor, fingers crossed, because trust me, I've played plenty of gigs where there's hardly anyone there and you play a brilliant set and about 6 people are there and really don't give a toss that you're there or not, because it's an early set or because not many people have turned up and there's not much of a vibe going on or anything like that. But there's a million reasons. And then we get into digital, and this is where the contention is, because so many, and I'm going to say it, I'm going to upset some people, I don't care, good. So many old dinosaurs still sit there and say you shouldn't be allowed to be a DJ unless you can mix on turntables. And this is an interesting thing, because this is something I was in the studio on Sunday with a very big producer, and in my scene, if you mention his name, people will know him. He's awesome. He's done lots of stuff, and he said, you have to pay your dues. And that phrase is singularly why a lot of the old-time dinosaurs like me, and I don't believe this at all, because I am as you can see, I'm part of the digital revolution, because I make tunes myself. So the only way you can play your own tunes out is digitally. The cost involved with getting stuff lumped onto a wax, lots of stuff getting done on a dub plate, something that you pay £50 for and then can only play 50 times before it just turns horrible and it just doesn't make sense anymore. These guys are complaining because it's too easy these days to pick up and just play something. When you had turntables, you had to pay your dues. You had to learn your craft. You absolutely had to, and it wasn't a quick process, because whereas you can buy records for 79p each on your chosen platform for buying new music, you didn't have that luxury in the 90s. You absolutely 100% had to come along and spend £6 on a record. I mean, you did get the luxury of going record shopping. You could stand in a record shop and get your new tunes and have them in a carrier bag. 8, 10 records, get all excited, spent 20, 30 quid on some new tunes. And that bus journey home, the drive home, just the trip into town. What am I going to get? What's going to be there? What gems am I going to find? Knowing something's out on a certain day and being there going, yes, I get my copy of Cascada or whatever. You know when it's there. And nowadays people miss that. But they also miss having to do hours and hours and hours of practice. Having to inflict those dodgy, horrible mixtapes on a cassette that's been recorded on 500 times because you just keep using the same one over and over again. You need to put that time in to really understand what you're doing, to get your head around it. Beat matching is not enough. Beat matching is not enough. And I would admit that it's so easy for me these days to buy 10 records off Track It Down and only ever play 8 of them, because the problem with CDs is you can put several tunes on a disc. So you put all your new stuff for the day, 6 tunes on one disc. And then you automatically start realising, well, I've put all 6 tunes on one disc. Maybe I should have put 3 on one and 3 on the other, because you can't mix them into each other. And then you get to the top one that's really good. And then if you're in a set, you don't want to take everything from the same disc because you feel a bit bad. And I miss listening. I'm doing this because I'm being emotive, but you can't see on the camera because it's just the way it is. When you had vinyl, you saw the record sleeve. And the record sleeve had an emotional trigger, it had an emotional connection to the music. So even if you didn't remember exactly the way that tune went, even if you don't remember exactly the lyrics that were in there, or the hooks or the bass lines or anything like that, I know personally, I see a record sleeve of something that I've played 100 times and I don't remember the tune, but I just remember the vibe. I remember how I felt when that went in. Did it come in, or did it slip in gracefully so you could just blend a nice 30-minute, 40-minute mix of never really running out and never really stopping, whereas harder music tends to be like get to the end of one and slam the next one in, chop the bass and all of that sort of stuff. The point is, kids, and yes, I'm meaning anyone sort of 18 to 25, if I'm honest, but younger people, given that I'm 38 and I've done double what you have, are the digital revolution. People who sit there and complain about vinyl don't exist to them anymore. They are out-of-date dinosaurs who've had their time and they've had their place. So let's bring on things like sync buttons and stuff like that. Let's presume that you are going to use a sync button because you just want to DJ. That is amazing, because it's an amazing thing to do, and if it's something that really captures you, great. No one ever thought that I'd stick with DJing when I started, because I used to give up. I used to have fads, and then I'd give up doing the fads 6 months later, and I'd started going to raves in 1998, and I think I got my first set of decks a couple of months after, really, because I had to have a go. Because I used to listen to happy hardcore back in the late 90s. Everything was happy hardcore. It was massive. The raves were enormous. I didn't really go to those big ones, but I went to the local stuff, and it was fantastic, and I wanted to come home and do that. But then you had to buy all of this stuff to go with it. DJs now, kids now, can do it inside their laptop. You don't need to spend a fortune on controllers and stuff like that. If it absolutely boils down to it, you can buy stuff on your laptop that will mix tracks together. This is why sync buttons exist. This is why sticking USB sticks into CDJ2000s exists. This is why Record Box exists. Because there's actually, and I know Jonathan is in my sort of generation, there is a whole new generation of people coming through that is perfectly normal to them. That's how you buy music. That's how you distribute music. The actual process of pressing vinyl, making record sleeves, it's all really expensive. It's all just really expensive. If you do a bit of e-publicity, you get someone to make up a nice flyer for your record, and all you do is hand it off to someone else who runs a label, or even if you do it on your own, you can still have a nice photo, and it costs you nothing. You upload your track to whatever server it is who's going to host your tune. Someone pays their 79p and they download it. And they now have the glorious opportunity, the exact opposite of what we used to wait for when we were kids, that you can just load it up and play that tune. It's all instant. Everything's there and then. The quality, like it or not, the quality of the records is better, whether you like the sound of old vinyl and stuff like that. But don't forget that old vinyl was pressed very differently, had an awful lot more top end, and it was EQ'd very differently when you actually master tracks, if you know it's going on to vinyl. If these days, if you have a tune that's going on to an album and going out as a single and going out on vinyl, all three will be mastered differently to accommodate the format that they're going on. And this is the difference. This is where the cream rises to the top, and this is what Jonathan said about turntables don't DJ. Computers, while they could, don't DJ. People DJ. Brains DJ, experienced DJs. I have friends who know what the pitch of all their records are. You put everything to +3, you put everything to +6, you just sort of memorise that and off you go. I do this. I do this a lot because the format, the genre that I play in requires it. It's normal, and you get to do an awful lot of fucking about in between with knobs and buttons and just make things look exciting. You double drops and half times and that sort of stuff is all great. I love it. I really, really love it. But I practice a lot. And I've had, not now, but in the past, pretty reasonable success. I've DJ'd at some really nice places. I've been to some nice places. I've met some very cool people. But I consider it an art. It is an art. If you do something for long enough, you become an artist at it. It is a creative thing. It's different every time you do it. And that's the difference. That's, I think, the question that you're asking. Kutski, my DJing hero. Kutski and Gamma. Gamma, love you too. Kutski did this years ago with his early mixtapes that he did when he got a job on Radio 1, which I have a song on one of. Just to I'll drop this name, would you like it? Kutski can cut and chop and mix like you wouldn't believe. And he did a video not so long ago, and the whole video was using the sync button. With record box, with a pair of CDJ 2000 Nexus, which I think he got given by Pioneer just because he's fucking awesome. And he did a blinding mix. He did an amazing creative mix of stuff that shouldn't go together but now does because of new technology. People who are crying about sync buttons are people like me, and I did it when it came out. But you know what? If you spend the whole time complaining about new technology, you're going to spend the whole time complaining about new technology. Shut your face. Get on with it. Practice, because trust me, the cream still rises to the top. Having a sync button does not make you a DJ. Having a sync button at home will not make you a DJ when you're out in a club, because I tell you what, the chances that the club that you're going to go and play at, it won't have CDJ 2000s with record blocks. And the chances that you're going to want to lug £4 worth plus a laptop of stuff so you can play an hour set in a nightclub somewhere, so you can have your sync button, it's not happening. It's not happening. Knowing when, if you go boom, 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 boom like that, so you go kick, bass, kick, bass, kick, bass from your different tracks. When you're mixing stuff together for that last little bit before you're going to go that with them, and the new one comes in, I have Mizzle and Wilson, two friends of mine, awesome. And the mixes that they do come in really early, and the reason is because they just know that when they get to that last little bit and you've got those last 4 beats, you can go kick, bass, kick, bass, kick, bass, kick, bass, poof, and the new tune comes in and the crowd goes wild, all that kind of crap. All that stuff is them knowing, practicing, doing, feeling, having a passion for it. Fucking sync button doesn't give you energy. It doesn't give the crowd energy. None of it matters. None of it matters. The cream always rises to the top. If you do good shit, people are going to notice you. How you publicise it and stuff like that, well, yeah, it's a big wide world out there, and it's hard. And that's tough. I mean, I left music for 2 years, and it was the worst thing I ever did. And trying to claw my way back into it now is probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. And as much as it's horrifically soul-destroying, it's also magnificent as soon as you get that one little smirk from someone that says that was good. I did a gig a little while ago, and the MC just said that was really good, Dave. And it was a 9 o'clock slot, played 9 till 11:15, I think, because the next DJ after me didn't turn up, and I was back to back with a good friend, and it was wicked. All of this experience, all of this excitement, all of this buzz, that is DJing. It's not in the equipment. It's not in the wiring. It doesn't matter how good your shit is or how bad your shit is. It's about how much you practice at it. I've not made one of these for Jonathan, and if you watch all of this, Jonathan, I watch pretty much all of your stuff, and I've been watching for a while, and I've seen you go through the good and the bad, and all power to you for keeping doing it. I'd love a go on some of that shit that you got. This has been SMS number 1. Or Dave SMS, and I do a radio show every Wednesday night on Crafty Radio if you want to have a tune in, listen to some silly rave music. Might even get my vinyl decks out today and go and have a proper DJ set for an hour somewhere, just in my own head, listen to pianos and bass. And I feel this video is very particular in the 2 things I'm about to tell you. Practice and enjoy.